Hey, what up, everyone? Scars McNeil here. So any of you who are seeing this for the first time, I will explain. I am a musician, audio engineer, music producer, and I'm currently in school, um, getting a bachelor's of science in music business, and hopefully I'll be coming back for a master's degree and doing a music neuromarketing research study because the value of music and its decline and demise are directly linked to how we present music as an experience. And this series is going to be dedicated to musicians, big and small. And I'm going to explore the branded experience of music for people so that they really get a lot of insights as what they're actually doing, the cause and the effect on the audience, you know, to the value of music. And I'll tell you why I'm doing this, because music is in that downward spiral. Um, so many people are struggling to, and I include myself in that, to gain traction, to have a career, to try to do something that they love and to get any value out of it. And a lot of musicians, regardless of success level, unless you're, at the very top, Taylor Swift or in that arena, get treated unfairly, a bit like a joke. So, this is going to be part one of the live venue experience. And just a quick insight about me, former pro audio manager for Guitar Center Hollywood, which is where I've obtained many, many golden nuggets. And for the last 10 years, I've done a deep, extensive, independent research on basically entertainment MBA curriculum. But when I got into the branding and the neuromarketing aspects, I really went down that or the rabbit hole of setting the stage for magic to happen. What are the correlations and the links between things that we do in music and the presentation of music that devalue our product to the audience? And it really comes down to building relationships. But that is my background. Also, was a former personal assistant to Lenny Kravitz's first manager at Abbey Entertainment, Stephen Smith. Did that for many months. But anyhow, so let's dive into this. Oh, for those of you who stick around at the end, I'm going to share one of my videos to one of my songs, and I got a very nice compliment. Let me just read the name on the video real quick. I'll give a shout out. And it made me blush. I'm really happy with the song. And just so you guys know, my journey as a musician was electronic music, then engineering, then production and music business. And it's only now at this, late age in life that I'm coming back to music theory, and I'm taking both lessons in guitar and lessons in piano. But it says without going 9571. And he just, first off, in this video, there's BMX riding for the song Halfway Home. It's from the Scars McNeil Wild Dying Dragonfly project that I'm working on. I'm getting the next one ready. I don't know how soon, but my voice is there. I finally got this voice, but he was blown away by the voice and the writing. And thank you. It means so much when we can get any kind of shine. So if you guys want to support me, I'll put the link at the end of this video, and I'm also at the very end going to play this video to wrap it up and as an outro. And before I get off the subject of Blue Minute Highway, I will just tell you, if you really want to show some love, then I have merch. This is air freshener for your car, and this is a sticker. I also have posters you'll see over there. And Well, pay them. Got them in a bunch of sizes, t-shirts. They are legit and they are fresh. I like, I'm into branding. I love mega brands. So let's get on to business. And I will end with this and say that I'm having trouble navigating my screens here because when I plug in the video mixer via HDMI, it changes the screen and makes it a little problematic. I'm still getting used to all this setup and working out the bugs. But anyhow, so let's get in to the Kool-Aid. All right. So, real quick, we'll let you see there. So this is Artist Development Workshop Part 1 live. Some of this is common knowledge. Some of it's going to be knowledge that people have figured out on their own, but a lot of it isn't. And you'd be surprised how many artists out there, and I run into this at school all the time, talking to kids, and they have never heard it. They're not going to hear it. It took me 30 years of working, in different areas in the industry to hear a lot of it. So I'm emptying out that satchel. So let's get into it, shall we? First, goosebumps. Goosebumps are the bar, and they are the main driver for the Monday morning buzz. And the Monday morning buzz, that is what you want as an artist that guarantees growth in your fan base. And the way it goes is like this. You go into work on Monday and your buddy's there and he's like, dude, oh my God, man, I swear to God. I just choked myself out. Holy moly. But anyhow, your buddy's just like, hey man, you got to come check out this band the next time they're around. And this is off the hook. I don't know. I'm dying right now. I might need mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Sorry for that lack of professional ability. I don't know what happened to my voice. That actually happens to me on stage singing. That's toxic mold poisoning. It's very humid and damp here in Florida right now. So I am dealing with it. And I do suffer from toxic mold poisoning, which messes you up like Lyme disease. So renegades, knowing Ren's story, my symptoms are similar, just not quite as bad. But anyhow, so Monday morning buzz. It's when you genuinely touch someone so bad that they are enthusiastically boiling over, kind of like renegades are with Ren, or ICP fans are with ICP, and many other, Taylor Swifties. But there's an art and science to setting the stage for magic to happen in order to get people to the level of goosebumps. And there are certain things that certain conditions, if they're not met, goosebumps are not going to be had. And one of the first, right up here at the top, listening pleasure. Those two words are the two most important words in the entirety of the music industry. It's do not pass go, do not collect $200. If what you're creating isn't listening pleasure to your fan base, you're not going anywhere. It's not. That's why there's so many things that are important to this. So let's get on further down the road. So first, let's take this as if you're a band just starting out. And you're getting ready for your first show. All this is about, what it all boils down to is relationship building. Are you building a relationship with your fans that's meaningful? Are you, and the way to think about it is you're dating your audience the same way you would a a significant other. You have to break bread. You have to go do fun things. You have to create stories. You have to create emotional connection and certain levels of intimacy and exposure to who you are. It's not just about presenting a persona. It's really comes down to genuine relationship building. So it's about the personal touch that you do or that you utilize in attracting a fan base. So shows are a social experience, and this is something that really is misunderstood at the local tavern level, the mom and pop bar, the mom and pop venue between 50 to 250. Bands, DJs, artists, they play these venues and they want to treat that experience as if it is their arena show. Let's crank the volume all the way up and let's blast people out of their seats. No, my friends. That does not work, because what you have in small venues is the worst possible acoustic setting with the least amount of controllability for sound in these rooms. And what you end up doing with stage volume is just the equivalent of stabbing people in the ear for 20 minutes to an hour with a sonic pencil. Now let me give you this analogy, and this is venue owners or booking agents or anyone that finds this channel, listen to these words very carefully. If you are, say, a 4-star Michelin chef and you're opening up a restaurant and you decide that you want to open up next door to a sewage treatment plant. So when you're open during your business hours, or pretty much all the time, your dining room smells like shit. How many people do you think are going to eat there? It ain't going to matter if you got 4 Michelin stars behind your name. They're not going to trust it. Music and musicians and venues, 95%. It's got to be up in that neighborhood, because I've been in venues all over the country, and until they get to 400, 500 seats and above, almost all of the small ones, it's just punishing. It's horrible sound. And we're not talking about spending thousands of dollars on acoustical treatments. All we're talking about is from 1 kilohertz, which is where the top end frequencies start to come in, turn those frequencies back. And the trick is, I get into this later, it's about what the tallest person in the room is hearing. If you're a short DJ or a short engineer, get on a chair and stand up there, because I'm 6'2.5", and I get it bad all the time. I go into a venue, all the time, bands, come check me out, or DJs, check out my set. And I walk in, I got tinnitus in this year from the last rave I went to. And here's a telltale sign that you're doing it wrong. If you go to the show and everybody is standing outside smoking on the patio away from the music, you done messed up. Now, I learned about this concept from a DJ in LA, Eddie Amador, and he was telling me that, DJing, especially coming up, is a social experience, and he likes to you can have all the low end in the world that you want, providing you don't bring the ceiling of the venue down, which does happen, or the walls, like it happened at I can't remember, Detroit's outdoor festival every spring, their EDM fest, DTE, or no, that's anyhow, electronic festival, DE, whatever. They brought down a wall from a building with the bass, or one of the concrete slabs that was up there, almost killed people. But you can always have enough low end, but you want a soft environment. One of the best 5-star sonic experiences I had in the Midwest would be like the Metro in Chicago. I think if they got a good engineer there in the upstairs room, there's a good chance you're going to hear some amazing sound. But that's very big. It is all about creating an experience that people can enjoy themselves in, and they can talk because they're out at the club level to meet people and to mingle. And it's not to be offended if you're a musician playing on stage and people aren't paying attention to you at that level. Eddie Amador used to tell me how he used to love to just talk to people while he was spinning. You know, he said that I think it was him, but he was talking about how one of the venues he came up at was he could just, people could come right up to him and talk, and he'd have extended conversations while he was spinning, and he just kept it nice and soft and full, and that's how he built his fan base up. So it's something to keep in mind when you're going forward. Obviously, if you get booked into a venue and they have the system you've been dying to play on, and it's the right, like if you're a metal band and they got a wall of speakers and it's an incredible experience and the sound engineer knows what he's doing, he's not just, the Grim Reaper chopping off heads with the high end, and turn it up, All right. So building brand value, and what this is in relation to is kind of frequency of booking shows and what your aim is. So when you're connecting with people, it's about presenting a special story, which is one of the key branded elements to what your show is about. Because you don't want to go out and just play a show. And I'm going to take myself off the screen here so you can read. But there's different reasons people follow bands. And when you're first coming out, it's mainly based on your relationship and friendship with them. And a lot of the friends that are going to come out and see you may not be fans of your genre per se. And I'm going to keep dropping myself out on this screen as I talk about these different points. But it's going to be based on the emotional connection, and you don't want to wear that out. And there's a way that this works. It's a hot air balloon analogy, and I'll get to that. But first, you got to understand the psychological profile of fans and audience. There are two reasons that people love music. First reason is they're the fans who find an identity in the culture of the genre of music. Metalheads, hip-hop heads, b-boys, the emo, punk rock. These are people who identify with genres of music because they get to dress the part. Goths. And then there's the second person. And those are people who like music for the sake of the music itself, the experience that's within it. And these are usually more creative and musically inclined people, like myself. I don't have a genre that I like. I like listening pleasure. If it sounds good and it's awesome, I'm probably going to like it. Now, that doesn't mean these days hip-hop is lost on me. Not because there's not great hip-hop out there, just because I prefer singers, singing and I prefer melodic movement and structure throughout the song. And I love electronic music, and even though most hip-hop is electronic based, it's not exactly an electronic genre. So anyhow, another key point to understand is this one right beneath there. It says musical taste is relative to their mathematical intelligence. Not always. But as a rule of thumb, you could probably go to MIT and find a fair amount of jazz or math metal fans, because they have the mental ability to comprehend the music. And I will tell you, even as someone who is involved with music production for many years, when I get around experimental jazz, progressive jazz, or progressive metal and math rock or math metal, it starts to sound like a fax machine to me. It's so busy, I'm not getting it. It's just missing me. So that determines the market appeal that you're going to, or the size of the market that you're going to appeal to. And this is one of the things that musicians kind of mess up in their head all the time, and they really struggle with this. Musicians, you so struggle with this. In the back of musicians' mind, there is this idea that the equation for success is become great at music composition and technically proficient, and that will equate into success and fame. No, that is not how it works, obviously. Nor has it ever worked that way, and pretty much in any field. There is a lot that goes into fame, and there's a lot that goes into success. And musicianship isn't necessarily the most important thing, although it is important. And it's not, when someone is a great craftsman at music, they have respect from their peers, and that goes a long way. But it's not necessarily going to win you fans. And that's something that's really key to understand as you move forward. So, this hot air balloon analogy. Here's how this works. So your brand, and I hate to use brand so much with musicians and artists because they cringe, and I'm the same way. I cringe too. I cringe. But there's no better word for it because it is what it is. And branding is the art and science of human connection as it relates to how you present yourself to a market or to people. And it's really how people connect to things. So everything that you do to tell your story prior to the show is a burst of hot air. If you do an in-store, if you do an interview, if you do video releases, if you do song releases, if you do a social media post, if you go to a party and hang out, each one is a burst of hot air into your hot air balloon. And you lift up. Get that thing full, and you're ready to go to the show. But every time you play a show in a city, you then deplete that balloon back down to zero. And this is why, and if you look on here, performance frequency and radius clause. And it is not a power move, and I'll explain both of those. So, your performance frequency, and you can Google this. I've said this in other YouTubes for this. Performance frequency, if you Google how often a band should play in a city, you are going to see the response no more than 3 to 4 times in a year. Now, here's an important thing to understand about this rule. This doesn't always apply to a residency, especially for DJs, like Goth Night. The heavy lifting of the market appeal on goth night or 90s hip hop night or cover band night has to do with the brand of that night and not the DJ spinning and not the band playing or whatever act is playing. But when you are not in a residency you're a band or an artist and you're in the audience building mode, then performance frequency is super important because you really have to generate a ton of marketing, and all marketing is the definition of marketing is every touch point that a business or brand has with its customers. So it's every phone call, every business card, every sticker, every song, every video, everything you do that reaches the public is marketing. And your brand message, the more consistent and the more thoroughly you cover the 10 branding pillars within each marketing piece, the stronger your bond is. So that's what you're really trying to do. And you need to protect that with your frequency because you need a really fully developed story to get people to take interest in you. And I explained it like this. Weddings and all things, religions are perfect brands. They have to be in order to be a successful religion. But a wedding reception is something that everybody's been to, or not just a reception, but the wedding ceremony and the reception. And these are perfectly branded things, and it's easy to see the branding in them and then understand what you have to do as a band or an artist. So we're not going to get into the branding of it right now because I did that on the last video. But what I'm going to talk about is how your emotional connection to people figures in as sort of I'm trying to think of the right word, not collateral, but value, some sort of cashable or it's escaping me, so I'm not going to try. It's late here. I'm recording this. Your best friend invites you to the wedding. You get a wedding invitation. You're going. You go, have a great time. Of course, you're there for your homie. This is awesome. Month later, you get another invitation in the mail, and they're renewing their vows. So now you're thinking, well, okay, I don't know what the story is behind this, but I'll go. All right. So you go, you have another good time. There's not as many people, it's kind of starting to feel a little old or whatever. Then another month after that, you get another invitation. They're renewing their vows again. Now, what are you thinking? You're thinking, dude, I got a life, man. I don't want to go to all your crappy wedding stuff, man. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? Same applies to bands and artists when you're booking in a local venue. Don't kill yourself. You wipe your audience out. What happens, and I've seen this especially where I'm from in Ohio, and I don't live there now, but I've seen it happen for many, many years in a row. Venue opens up, they start booking bands, the band comes in, they got 50 to 75 people, the venue thinks it's great, let's book them in next month, and then they book them in the month after that, and then they book them in the month after that, and what happens by 6 months to a year out, the band's down to less than 10 people showing up, and they fight and they break up because nobody understands what happened. We started off so strong and now we're, that's why. You have to build up a story and momentum and present something special. and it's a ta-da moment. And if moments like that happen all the time, they're not ta-da. They're not anything special to look at. So, radius clause. If you get to the level as an artist or a band and you start to say, get booked to a festival, say Lollapalooza. Lollapalooza is going to hit you with a contract and they're going to have a radius clause. And the radius clause is there as much for the band's protection as it is for their protection. And the way it works is they'll say, we don't want you to play another show for 6 months prior to our festival for a 300-mile radius within the festival, and we don't want you to book another show for 6 months after. That protects your appeal and all the marketing that you release during that time and guarantees that those fans are going to have to come see you at that festival. That's what makes it worth everyone's while. And it is an essential part of building an audience. It's just a cause and effect thing. It's not anything, it's science of human connection. If you get mad up and upset about it and you think it's some crazy conspiracy that's come up with in a boardroom by lawyers and CEOs, you're wrong. It's just the way it is with people. Hence the wedding analogy. You would bail on your best friend if he got married 4 or 5 times, month after month, guaranteed. One of those or multiples of those, you're not going to be there. So that's how that works. Let's move on. So cutting your teeth versus audience building. Now, I just talked a lot about the audience building. And this rule here of Googling how often you should play in a city. Now, a residency, like I said, that's different because that has to do with the brand appeal of the night. Cover night, goth, whatever. But traditionally, the way the cutting your teeth phase works when a band is trying to get their stage chops. You take as many gigs as you can, but it is always best. And when in the old days when there was artist development with labels, and a great movie for this is the Runaways, about Joan Jett's first band. Where, what did he do? He threw them on the road, and they toured to cut their teeth. They went and played all over, every little dive bar, everywhere, to build up their chops and able to perform. That's the ideal way to do it. However, I do know what era we're living in and gas prices and the problems with doing that, but that's what you want to do. And if you have to do it within like a tri-state, say you got a 150-mile radius is the max that you can do it. Book all the venues in that area and spread them out enough so you just don't wear yourself out in that market. That's it. Play as much as you can, or if you're able to get a residency somewhere, and then the best thing to do is if you had a lot of bands, Sublime came up this way. They just had the party house. They played all the time for an audience because everyone came over and partied at their house. It's a little different today. Kids have way more anxiety about hanging out in crowds. But it can still be done. Okay. So a lot of the presentation of the show has to do with what and how humans react to things and mirror neurons. All right. And this is why presentation matters. And what the mirror neurons dictate is that you have to train your public on how to perceive you. And if you present yourself on the same level as a trash can, then that's how people will treat you. And this is about the workaday attitude that many musicians have toward their music performance and music venues have toward the presentation of their shows and concerts. So I'm sure you guys, if you look, which way is it? This way. Up there. No, there we go. Look up to this corner. So you can see the guy, the violin experience with the world famous violinist who went into the subway. He was booked into, was it Radio City Music Hall or one of the big halls, had it sold out. And he went down in the subway and played down there, and people just walked by him. And he barely got any tips. It was like a low, like, $20 or $40 or something. I don't even think it was 40. But people treated him like he didn't matter. But that's because of the presentation. You're training everyone to perceive you as you're on the same level as a homeless person, essentially. So that's how they're going to see you. Now, is it always like that? No. Some people blow up and they go viral off of a subway or a street performance. Ren is a great example of that. But Ren and his crew are next level performers who are doing genres of music that are popular. So if someone hears someone doing a rendition of something that is super next level, they're going to get it. Now, classical musicians can still have successful careers and be marquee names. They just have a different audience and they have to market themselves in a certain way. But what this is how that perception fits in. The other picture over here, right above there, that's taken from one of the social media experiments that YouTubers have done, where they've hired bodyguards and cameramen and gone out in public, and they create this stir. And next thing you know, they got a crowd around them trying to see who it is, what's going on, and half of the people there will just lie and say, "Oh, I know who this is. I've been following him for a couple of years. He's blowing up big on YouTube. He's this. He's a TikToker. He's that." And they most likely are just lying about it. But it works. When you present yourself as someone who is of esteem, then people will treat you of that manner. And this all factors in when creating the hype that you need and the buzz around you, and you want to set yourself above. But this also matters when you get to the venue. So, right out of the gate, you have, and this comes down to choosing the venue and setting the stage for magic to happen. If there is a marquee, now you're setting an expectation. All right? And then it's about the presentation when you get inside. And you can tell, like these two pictures that are here on the side. And let me kill myself there. Phew, I beamed out. So these two venues are both on the floor. There's a 1 foot drum riser and everything else is on the floor. The whole picture got squeezed out of that. But it says, and it's the epitome of nothing to see here, and it's one of the factors on why stage height matters. More examples of stage height and stage presentation. Now, the venue on the left is obviously one that they care about their music and their presentation. However, they are still stuck in the 1970s and 80s with their presentation. I do love the fact that they have curtains, which are great acoustically. But, both of those images say music is an afterthought to us, Now, not as much, I can tell that the one on the left is a room that's trying. They probably book a lot of good shows through there and they do their best. But they don't have a drum riser, and a lot of people don't understand that. I'll explain that in the next slide. But this is what you need to look out for when you're choosing venues to play at. And one of the big vetting tools that the pros use is the tech rider. They'll go to a venue's website, and if they don't have a tech rider, they know they're not playing. And now this is something I learned at my time in Guitar Center out in Hollywood. I always used to love to get people talking about what they're on, and I was dealing with a guy who was in charge of the backline crew for a touring band at the time, or he's roadie, or he might even been thing. But he was talking about the backline, and my memory's bad, but he was venting hard. He was a volcano that was erupting about the experience of they switched this manager because they were a bigger band who had dropped down in sales, and they booked them into all these venues that didn't have tech riders. And it was the most awful tour he had been associated with. Even he hated it even more than the first one because of all the problems that they ran into. And here's the deal with a venue that doesn't have a tech rider. You're going to have a horrible sonic experience. And every time that happens, and if you're the audience person and you go out to a venue and you have a miserable experience seeing a band that you wanted to see, when you leave the venue, you're not thinking to yourself, wow, that venue really destroyed their sound. You're going, they suck. I don't even know what I like. They can't play live at all, man. Their shit's whack. Now, sometimes you get people who do understand, and they're more educated about the process, and they won't sling it. They'll give that act another chance. But it turns off way more people than you attract. So this is why venue selection is so important. And see the absence of drum risers. Now I'm gonna open you up to a little trade secret. It's not even a secret. It's just few people understand what they're really about. So obviously here's Iron Maiden with their amazing stage. Oh man, this picture's kind of low, but they've got a 4-foot drum riser on top of a 4-foot stage. Do you know why they have a 4-foot drum riser on top of a 4-foot stage? It's so that the energy of the cymbals, the sonic waves that are coming off that, are higher than the ears of the tallest person in the audience. So they're not shredding the ears of the audience with the cymbal hits, as well as elevating the drummer so that he can be seen. There's a dual purpose for it. It's not just about getting them off the floor. It serves a sonic purpose, especially in and it's a lot of times you'll see, depending on stage height, 2 foot or 3 foot, because not everybody knows and understands that history of drum risers. An old timer out in LA was telling me about it, and I was like, oh, I never knew that. So I just shared it with you guys so you understand. That's why drum risers exist. And then here, Iron Maiden, a really great brand. They're not a perfect. They're not one of what they call the mega brand. It has all 10 pillars covered, but they've got. I think they're 6. I don't know. I have to find that sheet that I did when I evaluated. The problem is that laptop died on me, so I can't get that research back, and I don't have the time right now to go and research another 50 bands. But anyhow, so other aspects that affect the live performance. Let me pull myself off of here. So, in addition to the ta-da, one of the things that you want to explore is how do you want the audience to feel from your music and from your performance, and doing something to really present yourself and give the audience and your audience something to latch onto does not have to be a crazy complex thing. And that's why I put the white stripes up here. They had a very simple concept. Let's wear white and red. And they painted their peppermint colors everywhere. And I'm pretty sure that they had probably handed out peppermint candies at some point, possibly. That might have been a thing. I don't know for sure, but it would be logical as far as the conclusion. But that's sensory appeal, it's grandeur, it's mystique, it's a story. It's all these aspects of the 10 pillars of branding that Martin Lindstrom talks about in his books that are applied to their now I don't know if all 10 were in theirs because I didn't do their branding at all. I didn't research it. But I know just in these photos there's a fair amount broken down there. But it can be simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Come up with something that's core about you that the audience can relate to and present that. Give the audience a unique experience that is 100% you. It's got to come from in here, you know? And then... oh, yeah. It's the feeling, the narrative, the story. How do you want them? And it can be a roller coaster. And sometimes it's better if it is. A lot of times it's better if it is. One thing, before I go on, I want to talk about stage movement too. You can be crazy and go off all over, but just as powerful as that is, can be your lack of movement. And it is amazing, some of the shows I've seen and some of the performers with high rent. The whole video, he's sitting and he's just turning left and right. When he finally stands up, it's this moment of incredible release. And it is saying something to the human spirit that is incredibly powerful. In the same token, Henry Rollins, when he would come out and perform, turn his back to the crowd, and all he's wearing is black shorts and a t-shirt, and he'd take that t-shirt off, and you'd see Search and Destroy on this big muscular back, and then he would walk onto, had that little Persian rug, and he would grab the mic and squat down and not move from that spot for his entire set, but he was intensely, doing his thing. Incredibly powerful. Whereas a lot of people run around and do their thing. It's just what's right for you, but knowing that and perfecting that and spending time with it is very important. And one of the things that happened with grunge that was and punk rock and the DIY scene period, and it was both good and bad, but grunge wiped out the old heads that were part of the industry. It gutted a lot of people, and they fired them. The taste had changed overnight. People lost their jobs, but it was people who understood these nuances in performance. The people who had perfected arena rock were now all of a sudden gone. But that also had a lot to do with the musicians, and they were just cliche, and they were chasing the wrong things. Oh, it's about having an extra case of hairspray. No. The media, and a lot of it had to do with labels. I won't put it all on the bands because I've seen some interviews and heard some things. But, yeah, it's about being organic and true to yourself and finding something, but then presenting it on, steroids. Another key component of listening pleasure, and I want this one to be seen, because especially in hip-hop, all the time you hear, oh man, I don't need no one to tell me how to hold the mic. I know how to hold the mic. Do you see the frequency response that you get out of the mic when you hold it in these different ways? Not to mention, if like that bottom one there, you grab your mic and you cup it like this, You just took a cardioid pattern and made it an omnidirectional pattern that's going to start feeding back everywhere that the engineer can't control. So it is something that is really not good if audio quality matters to you at all during a performance. Now, for screamo-core, for hip-hop guys who are rapping over their own CD version or their released version of music with their lyrics on it, knock yourself out. But don't expect people to care about you for long. You know, they're there at the show, but, you know, you want to penetrate people, you got to give them a performance. And rapping over your CDs or your finished music or, you know, it goes somewhere. And I'm not dissing, I kind of am, you know, the stenchcore stuff. I think it was Doom. Doom was the first act I seen, and I remember seeing them in the late 80s. I think it was 89 or something. And I was like, yeah, this ain't going to last. Yeah, I was wrong. So I'm not mad at you guys for existing. I just can't listen to it. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I had to include a slide because so many, man, this is so huge. And you can just cause an engineer to have a horrible night in the wrong environment. And you got to remember, when you're performing in these small venues, 95% of the time it's 2 or 3 brick walls, all brick, no acoustical treatment, wood ceiling, you know, from the joist above the floor, and then glass windows. And it's an echo chamber of sound. So if you're cupping the mic, you just made a super echo chamber for that engineer to have to deal with. All right. The day of the show behaviors. So you've done all these things, you've gone out, you've marketed yourself, and let me stop here and revisit something. Marketing. 21 Pilots. One of the things that they did when they broke out of Columbus is their mom would go out on High Street and on campus and pass out flyers saying, "Come to my son's show." All right, they got out there and they did their marketing. And it's not in this one. I don't know if I had it in the last one, but I'm just going to tell you. So there's this marketing algorithm that I use. So the concept is this. It can take between 7 and 21 exposures before you convert a fan to liking you from being exposed of your marketing. All right? But your conversion rate also has to do with the percentage of people who would be fans of your genre of music or your style of music. And that is affected by the strength of your brand. So something that's real high, say like a strong appeal, like, I'm trying to think nowadays. Star Wars when it was good. I mean, not saying that all of it's bad, but I think they're missing the boat with some of this stuff. But anyhow, Star Wars at their best probably had like a 8 to 15% conversion rate. So what this meant is if they wanted to get 200 people to buy t-shirts, they needed to get about, I think it'd be 15,000. I'd have to do the math on this. But there's an algorithm, and I'll share it later. Not in this presentation, but I'll make sure it's part of part 2. Because I'm not going to screw around and I'm getting near the end. But anyhow, they would have to put out, say, 200,000 media impressions to get 200 people in the theater. All right, that's news stories, that's advertising, or their stuff would have to be seen. That's why they released comic books. That's why they released the book. And they did all these things to build a fan base. And it wasn't until the lines of people who did go see it kept coming back, and it became a phenomenon. And then there was press on every night for a couple of years when the original Star Wars came out about Star Wars. Anything that was new with that whole associated with that name and that production was, you know, it was an experience unlike any other for people who were there. I mean, the fanaticism was next level. So you're doing the same thing with your marketing. You have to have an idea, or it's wise to figure out how many media impressions or marketing impressions you need to get 200 people there. So that's what the marketing algorithm is for. All right, so the day of the show behaviors. And these are just good ideas. And what you're seeing here in the one picture that's behind me is actual YouTube video of a band fighting on stage. Now, that'll get you views, but it won't get you fans. It's just not a good look. The same as drinking and drugs on the day of the show and being wasted on stage. You can ask Aerosmith how effective that is. They were dropped after their tour, where they were all just blitzed out of their mind for the whole tour. You know, they were done. You know, they were all tweaked, and everyone was unhappy with them. My sister and her boyfriend actually went to that concert, and they still grumble and moan about how big of a letdown it was when they came through. It doesn't win you anything. It does actually. It makes you infamous, but it's not what your friends are there for or your fans are there for. Pizza. Now, this I put on there just because this is a studio hack too. Pizza causes your stomach to take the brain as or all your blood away from your brain. Your to process heavy pasta like meals requires a ton of blood, and there is a noticeable slump in the energy. And I've done this in recording sessions, where we were recording, ordered pizza showed up, and we go back to tracking, and it is 5 to 10 dB slower, and everyone's dragging ass, and the energy is gone. So just a good insight. Also, for Mystique, stay backstage. If there's not a backstage, stay somewhere. You want to present yourself. If you're hanging out with everyone like it's any other day, you're not really sending the message that you're someone to be admired. I'm just one of the guys. And that can be cool. And it was kind of cool in the punk era, but it worked for that because of what that was. It was the anti-hero establishment. They didn't want to look up to anyone. So you got to understand the kind of act you are, and the kind of fans and the kind of, what is true to you. So like I say, these rules aren't 100%. It's just how people work. If you want to be Jimi Hendrix, then you got to do things that put you in the public's eye as Mount Rushmore, So fighting, other bad behaviors, low emotional intelligence, being just a genuine jerk to people will shoot yourself in the foot. And this is the number one pandemic or epidemic in going on at shows with so many artists, is that they're just jerks. They think that the fact that they're playing this venue or selling it out gives them the right to treat everyone like crap, like they're beneath them, like they're to be worshipped. And that's not how it's not. Strategically, you want to create the vibe that you're of high esteem, but you don't want to treat yourself and you don't want to behave as if you're better than anyone. You're not. I'm not, you know. When I present my music, I do it with a certain seriousness or level that matters. So, anyhow, just wise, be kind, be generous, but hide yourself backstage. So if you do have a fight with your girlfriend, and also, the fans don't see it if you have your fight, but the social media monitor, and this is a good one, and I've run into this a lot. I used to play out with a very crazy stage setup. I no longer do that because it's just too much. But the day of the show, I'd start getting bombarded with text messages all day long about where is it, where can, the litany of a million questions. And this is true for every band. If you get one person and you direct in all your social media and all your things, if you need to get a hold, text this number, and they have a way, or someone social media, monitoring the band site, and let everyone know on the day of the show, if you have questions, this is who you contact, and that person's only job that day is to handle those communications. That is a great idea, because otherwise, like, you're trying to plug in speakers or put drums up or whatever it is that you do, and you have 50,000 questions coming in, and you're trying to juggle all this stuff. Setting the expectation for the performance. Another key aspect of show psychology is the concert line. And venues like the Majestic in Detroit and the Metro and a lot of the bigger venues that are above, they have a tech rider. They understand what they're doing. They always will say something like, doors open at 8. Let me take myself out of there, right? The question is, do they open at 8? No, they don't. They don't. And the funny thing is, I know this. This is something that I know. And when I went to see the Midnight in Detroit at the Majestic, I showed up at 8. You know why? Because I wanted to be in line so I could get my choice spot where I wanted to stand. I knew that the doors weren't going to open till 9. And they do that so they build curiosity up, but they're also setting the expectation for the audience. The audience knows if they got to wait for this, there's something good about that. There's an element of mystique. It's a ritual. There's a sensory appeal to it. It can be hot. It can be cold. It can be rainy, like it was when I was waiting to see in line for the Midnight. But it also, people are inquisitive. And when you drive by a venue and they see a marquee and they see a big line, they go, I wonder who's playing over there tonight. And it starts to train the public and the rest of people that, this act is worth some sort of esteem, They're a little bit higher level. Speakers. So, and this is where we're going to end, but I'll lay it out like this. There is no such thing as too many speakers, but there is a such thing as too loud, and there's a difference. The ideal scenario is to have as many speakers as you can, bumping at a third, like down here, a third to maybe a quarter, maybe if you really got to thump the place, somewhere in here. But if you get to halfway, you might be pushing it, But to have a ton of speakers pushing volumes of air creates a full and immersive experience that's penetrating but not obnoxious to where you're killing cells to your future children. It's way better than having 4 speakers or 8 speakers cranked and it's ripping your eardrums apart every time you walk past them. That is obnoxious. It is foul. It is ignorant. It is the worst. And if you can't tell by the current value that music is sitting at, it is a horrible business model for musicians and for venues to make their audience deaf. It's not working. Fix it. Really. I have to say that with the utmost passion because, oh my God, how many more acts do you have to see disappear? It's not as if these musicians aren't talented. Something must be wrong. What is it? It's our awful sound. So, more speakers, lower volumes, penetrating, but conversational. That's key. Now, if you're at a concert, they can pump it a little bit more because they have, let me whip it out here, one of these, a dBu meter, right? Hold it up, it'll tell you how loud the sound is, and they know where they can push it to and back off, and they do that, and they walk the arena before the show, and they go all around to the back corners, and they make sure they got an even sound throughout, and they'll keep it and ride off it. And not even then, a lot of the concerts that I went to, like the Midnight at the Majestic, I thought it could have been 4 or 5 dB quieter, at least in the highs, because it was, few times I was like, oh, no. If anyone's got to do that, if you ever see that as a sound guy, you failed. Move on to your next career, or try better next time. Because that is this. Sorry to get off, but I got to. Because this is one of the things that's killing music. So, that being said, I'm going to leave it here for tonight. And like I told you, there'll be links. Any shine or anything you can do to help me and my cause to come back for a study and, another year of school, or to help support my music, man, do I appreciate it. And I did get some amazing compliments of this. So if you go and explore, I will say this, I've always been a fairly decent music producer. I haven't been a greatly skilled musician, and now that's developing. I finally got the voice. This was the first song that I ever did where my voice was like, oh my God. And I'll admit something. After I recorded this, now this was a live one take. Now I played the guitar and the piano and the bass as a layered sound, but I played it all live in one take and got it. And then I went back and did the vocals live. And there's only one edit in the vocal, and it's at the very end of the song. It's something I say when it's trailing out, and it was just a little word, and I clipped that over. But live one take, after I seen Ren, I'm like, oh, that's it. That's where the magic of music is. So I practiced this over and over. I got this, and after I listened to this back, I cried like a baby. It was an amazing moment because I never thought that something this, to me, it's amazing, would come out of me, So without further ado, thank you, everyone. Links will be down below, and I'll be back next week with the second part of this. And I'm going to keep trying to help musicians. So feel free to share this with any of your musicians. And I also have a donate button over on BlueMidnightHighway.net. And once again, merch. So good night, everyone. Scars MacNeil signing out. Here's halfway home. Here I am, more than halfway home. A long road I've been walking along.
I don't recall. The current's strong and the bridge is gone. It's gone, all gone, it's gone. She left it all when she got scared. I wasn't lost but wasn't going nowhere. I swallowed tears, kept them down inside. I let it go, 'cause boys don't cry. It's fine, alright, I'm fine. I walk along this long and lonely road. What will become of me? Try not to think about regrets anymore. They never bring me any peace. Here I am, more than halfway on. Long road I've been walking along. Can't fix the past, keep it moving on. I can't go back, 'cause she's been gone. She's gone, I'm gone, long gone. Here I am, more than halfway on. Can't go back, don't know where I'm going. See the sun rise over the trees. Feel the breeze blowing over my cheek. It feels warm, so warm on me. Thankful for all these great memories. The time has come to see this dream. Life's painful lessons that help us to see, to become better men, to get on top of these peaks. I wake up every day with a gift to give away. The road to stoicism is one that is paved by a lifetime of loss, a lifetime of pain. I wake up each day till I've used my strength. I know I'll be okay.